The first poem, Before Birds. When the city goes down all fours to find glasses to look at itself and don't recognize the geometric plane in which the wisdom is pitched like a tent, the protesters get out of the dreams of real language. When the sea floats it, a birthmark never familiar approached, just like those from the west coast, the dream has just begun. They sleep in heather estates and wave the double-glazed windows. Their demands are moderate, a vial of valerian, rather dry. The story begins and ends, long strands of light. The harder the cold takes, the opener the roofs, the snowier the scalps. Wet chickens in red wheelbarrows, of colorful kingfishers with birds blooming in the den. Each one has a rumble in their breast scarf. Farewell, doing bird watching, that is, doing unusual twilight, riding on the warmish of the house's dovecote. Farewell, as the singers of the nesting wrangle say when they lock their elbows. Goodbye, frostbite of the mallard, fleet as a heavenly motorboat when the stars are curled down and all their goods are walking at Lubyanka. Farewell, don't believe the futurologists. My joy, every beast was my name, even a birdly one, and the swallow split, and haiku on its wings, but a delicate frame beneath, but the tickle of bone, and the lunar blotches came out on the windsel in hard sweat. The Syragis. The snow plows pick up the white kid lamps. They will distribute them to the nearby metropolises, skinny, and to the flocks that have claimed the plaza. Now they stand, like in the gate. There is a scope to this favor, freedom of association. Earth will happen later, like Moscow, when Golgo heated with fire. The second poem to all the boys, with asterisk. I thought I don't have a type. The sensitive, the tender boys, gender dysphoric boys, were into starling the late the Winchester on, the green Christmas, the beaten eyes. The oppressed one doesn't know anyone better than their oppressor, so one boy, Paulo Freire, has said once, and I love to study. So I read man's research, went to seminars and lectures, sorted out the masculinities of film heroes, like feeds into boxes. I talked about the man crisis like Platonov did about the socialist strategy. I switched the field study. I asked on the dates, how do they make new friends? How do love and solidarity look like in their circles? How do they get angry and how do they hate? How is the crisis of identification turning out? What does the word fidelity mean to them, or honor? Then during the nights I thought how could I help a boy's heart, quivering and wounded like home cheese? How to build the ways of mutual aid, how to be young female allies in their right path and never a slogan. Because they did not harass me, they were not the ones who abused me, didn't jerk off me in front of the church, didn't grab me on the subway, who didn't let me to reach home or weren't letting me into the subway station. They were not the ones. And then, when I was a child, boys, poets and musicians, literature students, poignant like an unknown beast in the desert mural. I learned by their faces, and that's why each time when the ugly bones of evil appeared through them, evil they brought to women, it was a new construction in the installation of the language. I could not was stopped. It always was not to worry about something I begged pardon for. I, a researcher who violated the field game. They were toys I learned so much about, almost believing that I obtained the peculiarities of the pain they held in their hands. How, when one boy threw a stone, ever said, they tore it all out of the context and dragged into the different corners. For a long time afterwards, the possessiveness swerved around me, a dog's joints, and I still tried to tell myself what it was, when all the words for hatred were already gathered, and not even one for love and grief. However, it happened in science. In different methods, we often deal with the same thing. The first poem. Paulita Bodunova writes letters to her lovers on puffy envelopes of square pizza. Scrap falls with Octobers. I filled bathtub, and she, standing in wisp of her hair, Those will be memories, but anarchists are touchy. Morality blooms around too, instant noodles of the south and rouse. Breadcrumb tobacco, that's the dinner of the Mill Revolution. What do you think of Gorky? Sour day like Portuguese apples, sour documents. Under the highest weight the cities drop. The bulletins from the Zinki are intercepted by starlings with black combs on their sides. You know the last time we slept, I didn't study at all where you put your other arm. The whole bed turned out to be cold, so maybe you're drying up at night. Your chest becomes a sponge. All over the world, all over Spain, the girls lying in beds, wanting scorched by scratches. Their praise of clean the apple pies from my fingerprints. Turning it back, I'll become one of them. And the last poem. I know I'm not ready for prison, or torture, or pressure along the criminal proceedings. Like a project at university, I keep thinking about it and still don't start preparing. First of all, I know too few poems by heart. Modern poetry is prose, which has no rhyme. At performances you can read from a sheet of paper. The reader's memory is not adapted to other conditions. And I have always been fascinated by the ability to know a lot by heart. I fell in love with so many boys who were repositories of Freud, Mandelstam, Lignac, and Gratitude. This lists and lists of sad poems by men. Soon there will be no one to hope for. When I ride in a taxi and think, this is the last time, and just in case I run my hand again over the armrest, memorizing how the narrow street with its wonderful lanterns floated by, its task comes back to me, to finish learning poems, to clarify the details. If it's foreign poetry, whose translation should I take? Should I translate something myself? Or learn it in the original tone? What proportion of poems by women is fair to her preferences? How many of these texts will explode in my throat? How many are suitable for crying and calming down? Which ones will soften, like shoes from which you are forced to remove the laces? Off the top of my head, it will take 2 months of preparation. I will be able to toughen up, cure my teeth, and get used to sleeping by lamplight. But strawberries will ripen, poets will write more, and daylight hours will grow longer, like shadows from window sheets, and we will have children who will gradually grow tired of hills and other poems.